In considering the nature and function of the radiosonic template as the temple of man, we see that the energy body corresponding to the form of the Cybank matrix considered as the planetary nervous system. Likewise, the 5 centers of the biopsychic activation within the individual body contain a corresponding recapitulation of the stages of the psychocultural development. Finally, the biopsychic centers and the sense fields as a total system comprise of a psychogenetic feedback loop. In terms of the holonomic equation, the individual psychogenic feedback loop is based on the same pattern as the psychocultural or historical feedback loop itself, based on an even more encompassing universal model. As we have seen, the stages of historic or psychocultural development defined by the 8 stages of holonomic recollection and the 64 stages of biopsychic transformation correspond to both I Ching and DNA codons, hence the qualifying phrase of psychogenetic feedback loop. The process of history, the radiation of man, is itself based upon and or is a function of both octave and chromatic formulations. It is for this reason that the study of chromatics is the key of biopsychic activation. Chromatics, or biopsychic chromatics, must here be taken to mean the investigation of the interrelation between the various spectral scales or unit of information to which each of the senses is responsive. To the ear, the spectral scale is known as the octave. To the eye, the chromatic spectrum. To the nose, the olfactory scale, and so on. Because the visible spectrum is easy to reproduce in terms of color, it provides in this instant the base analogy for our preliminary consideration of the total field of biopsychic chromatics. In the psychogenic chromocellular activation chart, the historic psychogenetic feedback loop in all its permutations as the Cybank woof provides a matrix for the patterns of chromocellular activation, the total interwoven spectrum of the color scale. The lead color of each of the 8 stages is keyed in the upper left-hand corner of each of the psychogenetic cell blocks. Thus, we have the chromatic pattern already established. Red and orange. AC template. Aboriginal emergent and Aboriginal generative, blocks 1 and 2 respectively, corresponding to primal center of energy body. Yellow and green, CA template. Hieratic pristine and hieratic imperial, blocks 3 and 4 respectively, corresponding to the navel center of the energy body. Blue, medieval cosmopolitan, block 5, CA template, heart center of the energy body. Indigo, global industrial, block 6, CA template, throat center of the energy body. Violet and purple, radiosonic and holonomic, blocks 7 and 8, AC template corresponding to the head center of the energy body. Since each of these chromatic cell blocks It is important to remember that these code figures also correspond to the flow of DNA codons. It is divided from top to bottom into 4 binary parts. To each of these sections correspond a single color. Also, since each of the chromatic cell blocks is divided into 2 by the mystic's 7th column, there are a total of 8 two-line parts of the 6 kua, each for each chromatic cell block. As a result, each cell block can accommodate all 8 colors in the spectrum, but in different patterns of arrangement, depending upon which color is keyed into the quote-unquote start sequence in the upper left. Finally, the color itself moves separately by binary pairs downward in the manner of the crossover polarity pattern exhibited in the Psi Bank warp. In this way, we may account for the particular patterns evident in the psychogenic chromocellular activation chart. It should be noted that the overall pattern of color relationships to each other corresponds exactly to the crossover polarity dynamic exhibited in a single seasonal plate of the Psi matrix flowchart. Thus, the central block of 4 is designated by a crossover between blocks 1 and 5, 4 and 8. This central crossover is complemented by the complete crossover pattern by which blocks 2 and 6, 3 and 7 are related by the same process of inverse symmetry. Viewing this map as a psychogenic keyboard, literally as a chromatic spectrum of our chromosomes, the carriers of DNA coding, we may begin to sense how profoundly inherent harmony of things is inscribed in us. We may also begin to contemplate the possibilities of translating this inherent harmony outward through our senses, transforming our sense field, the planetary environment itself, into a true synthesis of the hues of our kind and nature.